Hi everyone, my name is Gunna, and my master topic is tropical rainforest deforestation. Now, before we talk about deforestation, it is important to figure out what a tropical rainforest exactly is. Now, Merriam-Webster defines it as a tropical woodland that has an annual rainfall of 100 inches and is covered with evergreen trees that forms a continuous canopy. And it is important to note that there are no dry seasons in a tropical rainforest. And some of the world's largest rainforests are found in South America and Africa and also Southeast Asia. And there are also some in Central America and the Australian region too, but they're not as big as these three. There are an abundant amount of flora and fauna that rainforests have, and rainforests alone cover 50% of the world's documented species, and more than half of them haven't even been discovered by scientists yet. And 10 million of those species are just found in the Amazon rainforest, which we're going to be focusing on. There is the Amazon river dolphin, the piraruca, the toucan, and also the Brazilian nut tree. Now, what is deforestation? Deforestation is the process of clearing out or wiping out a vast amount of trees in an area. And this has detrimental effects to rainforests and also the environment as well. This leads to excess amounts of greenhouse gases, and tropical rainforests absorbs carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, and they absorb over 210 gigatons of carbon. And because of deforestation, it adds up to 15% more of greenhouse gases that is being released into the atmosphere. And as a result, temperature rises, which makes it harder for plants to grow and animals to live, which leads to my next point, biodiversity loss. And since the temperature rises, it makes it harder for animals to live. And some of these animals migrate, and during the process of deforestation, they also end up dying as well. And loss of habitat does sometimes end up leading to species extinction or just making them endangered, and that is definitely not good. And my next point is soil erosion. And tree roots anchor soil. Without trees, the soil is too dry, lacks nutrients because there's no water coming from the tree, which leads to vegetation problems. And because of this dry soil, it ends up being blown into the river, which messes up the water quality. It also affects the water cycle, and trees are a significant part of the water cycle. And they absorb rainfall and produce water vapor that is released into the atmosphere. And according to National Geographic Society in the Amazon, more than half the water in the ecosystem is held within plants and trees. And if there's no trees, it does lead back to soil erosion. And according to National Geographic, in 100 years, the world's rainforest would cease to exist because of deforestation. And and also according to World Wildlife Fund, the Earth loses 18.7 million acres of forest per year, and it wouldn't be surprising if in a century or so there would absolutely be no rainforest. The current trend in where deforestation is increasing every year, it's not surprising if the world doesn't have them anymore. So why does this happen? There's a number of reasons why this happens, but some of the direct causes of deforestation are agricultural and infrastructure expansion, such as for houses and roads. They are also used for wood extraction to make commercial items like furniture, homes, and something as simple as paper. They're also used for domestic fuel and charcoal. And there's also used to extract ingredients to make items like palm trees used to create oil. These ingredients come from the plants and sometimes even the animals as well, and they're also used for pharmaceutical medicines. These medicines can range from malaria, kidney stones, and something even as common like the common cold. The biggest cause is the conversion of cropland to pasture, which is used for cattle ranching. So there's a few effective proposed solutions, and some of them include sustainable forestry, which consists of timber harvesting methods designed to do as little damage to the environment as possible. They basically they replant trees after logging, which limits soil erosion and mitigates damage to wildlife habitats and maintains the water quality. There's stewardship, which involves monitoring logging activities to make sure that all land use laws are being followed. there is increasing the amount of protected areas in rainforest. There is a research institute called Amazon, not Amazon, this one starts with an I, and it's based in Brazil, and they are dedicated to preserving and conserving the Amazon rainforest. And they say that there are over 44% of protected areas in the Amazon, and that's an area larger than Greenland. There is also the Red Plus incentives. Now, the Red Plus incentive stands for reducing emissions from deforestation and degradation. And basically, what this is a plan that was introduced by Brazil. It's an international plan to reduce deforestation in tropical countries and would be compensated by wealthier nations to make up for their economic losses as an incentive. Brazil basically announced their plan that they will reduce their deforestation rates and by 80% by the year 2020. Norway found this really appealing and agreed to pledge $2.5 billion. And during the span of 10 years and at the end of 2010, Brazil went like above and beyond to meet their goal, and they dropped their deforestation rates by 67%. And as promised, Norway gave $1 billion to Brazil, according to Amazon. And the current size of deforestation is that, right now there are almost 2% of rainforests left on the world, which is not that good compared to 50 years ago, which was 17%. And as I mentioned before, there are 67%. Brazil has dropped their deforestation rates by 67%. And Brazil's president has promised to ban illegal deforestation and reduce greenhouse gases by 43% by 2030. What I found most interesting during this research was that the annual deforestation rate in Amazon in 2004 was 11,000 square miles. In 2012, 1,700 square miles were cut from deforestation. In 2013, 2,000 was cut. In 2016, it rose to 3,000 square miles. And this is because of, the increasing amount of mining and logging that occurs in the area. And it is important to note that U.S. is the biggest importer of Amazonian wood. And because of the rising numbers of illegal logging, they banned the illegal import of forested timber. And Amazon estimated that just in 2011-2012, 78% of timber logged in the Amazon was illegal. So why is it so difficult to stop deforestation? It should be pretty simple, right? Well, it's not. Farmers rely on land for agriculture and cattle ranching purposes. And because the area is so deforested and damaged, the soil is not as fertile and ideal for farming. And because of this, farmers continue to burn trees and use the ashes to make the soil more fertile for farming. The ash from the burned trees provides some nourishment for the plants, and the land is weed free essentially from the burning. When the soil becomes less nourishing and weeds start to reappear after years, farmers move on to a different patch, and this repeats the cycle. Now, on the other hand, the Brazilian government invests money in roads and infrastructures, and they put their money in, timber companies, to boost their economy. And loggers rely on trees for their jobs in their everyday life, whether it be legal or illegal. It's a way for them to make money, and it's hard for them to stop too. However, they all need to realize that deforestation is a bigger problem than they think. And after a while, there will be no more trees for them to use for agricultural purposes, and there'll be no more land for them to, make infrastructures, and there'll be no more trees for loggers to cut down. And if they all don't come together and realize that deforestation is a huge problem and that there will be no more rainforests, their ways of life will be so changed that it will be so hard for them to come to, to fix that problem. It'll be too late. So tropical rainforest deforestation is an extremely big problem that the world combined needs to figure out even more solutions to stop this. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.